So, Soccio continues talking about these proto-scientists, and he pretty much says, like, seeing how they operate here will lend in our understanding as we learn about philosophy more in the future. And he writes, consequently, what is obvious about these pre-Socratic philosophers, might be obscure or unfathomable to us. So don't be surprised or discouraged if some of their ideas seem alien to you. 61, page 61. Quote, traditionally, the first Western philosopher is said to have been Thales, which is around 624 to 545 BCE. Thales lived in a city of Miletus, part of the Greek colony of the Asian coast in an area known as Ionia. His parents are thought to have been Phoenician. That's according to Soccio on page 61. For the most part, Thales devoted himself to his speculative studies, devoting only the minimum effort necessary to his financial affairs. In one of his earliest absent-minded professor stories, Plato records that Thales fell into a well when he was looking up to study the stars, being so eager to know what was happening in the sky that he could not see what lay at his feet. Unquote. So, 61. Philosophically, this is Soccio here, philosophically, Thales is significant for his attempt to find a common source, a single substance underlying all things. And then, what do we think that substance was? Well, for Thales, it was water. In his observations of reality, he realized that water seems to be a part of everything in all life. According to Aristotle, Thales, quote, observed that the nutriment of everything is moist, and that the seeds of everything has a moist nature, and that from which everything is generated is always its first principle. But Soccio says, the real force of Thales' insight was not his specific conclusion that all things are water, but rather his reduction of all things to one substance. The name for such single substance philosophies is monism, the belief that reality is essentially one. Hi, Murdies. Oh, hello. Oh, Murdy's on TV. Oh, did you bring your Foxy? Okay, we're going to pause it. I'm going to rehash that last quote. But Soccio says, quote, the real force of Thales' insight was not his specific conclusion that all things are water, but rather his reduction of all things to one substance. The name for such single substance philosophies is monism, the belief that reality is essentially one, either one reality, one process, one substance, one structure, or one ground. Page 61, unquote. So there are different types of monisms that you'll find in different philosophers. And then there will be dualisms that you find within philosophers, like famous dualism is that of Descartes. So let me provide a different definition of monism that I think is sometimes Soccio has a duplicate definition on the margin. It on occasion is a little bit different than the one that is in the text. So it says, monism, the general name for the belief that everything consists of only one ultimate unique substance, such as matter or spirit. So this definition did give us a little bit more substance. So it could be something that is materialistic, is reductionistic to something like, I think Spinoza talked about monads, some sort of small particle, but it could also be something that is pure spirit. So continuing, essentially what we have here is that Thales' assertion over his empirical observations of water being the substance of everything, and this is, as Soccio depicts it, and I mean, it truly is, a significant shift from the mythological paradigm, one in which Greek gods or Greek goddesses are used to explain natural things found in reality. So Soccio says this was because, quote, it rested on systematic, rational evidence and careful observation, rather than on mythical stories and poetic images. In other words, Thales tried to figure out or reason his way to a theoretical explanation of the changes he saw throughout nature. So this is a common theme throughout the Pre-Socratics chapter. So naturally, as just like in the case of Thales and others that we observe, when one person becomes inspired by one, or one person inspires others, others also become inspired and have their own pursuits that have influential power as well. So Soccio writes, quote, in presenting arguments for his beliefs, Thales inspired others to refine or reject his ideas with their own carefully reasoned counter-arguments. Unquote. 61.